Tonight on Localite, Jon Compton talks with Scott Zagarino about his faith, charitable work, and passion for helping others. Scott's past as a professional athlete and Buddhist monk have helped steer him towards his current humanitarian role. That's all tonight on Localite.
Scott, thanks for coming on. We're not going to have enough time. I can just tell already. I mean, we've already gotten started on talking about many of the your perceptions and your views and things on life, and fascinating. But I kind of want to just go ahead and start with your faith, because your Project One and the sports grants and all of that is sort of, in a sense, a byproduct of your faith. And you started out as a Christian Scientist, I've learned.
As a child.
As a child. And you're still a Christian Scientist, but you've introduced, you're also a Buddhist monk.
I'm also a Catholic and a Jew.
Now you're really making my head spin.
Well, is there a reason I couldn't be? It's the practice of those faiths that are ultimately similar, but the Buddhism tends to be, I mean, the foundation and all of this grew out of the first vows you take when you've been accepted by someone to become a monk, is that you vow to save all sentient beings. And they're called the Bodhisattva vows. And what a Bodhisattva is that in Tibetan Buddhism, they believe in the circle of life, birth and death, right? Reincarnation, that you come back and come back. And ultimately you reach this perfect level of enlightenment. A Bodhisattva had reached that level and stood at the door and said, I won't go through until every living being goes through.
How does he know that? How does he even pursue that?
Doesn't go through the door.
So, if you could, and this is almost an impossible question probably, but if you were to encapsulate what Buddhism is it in addition to your core religion or faith, or how you were brought up?
It's the practice of faith.
The practice of faith.
Of that things are as they are. Whether you use God as the creator of all of that, or it's that things are as they are, and to see them clearly, then you love everybody. And everything. And one of the examples that I use is because I have a lot of experience with AIDS and cancer, is that while it's an emotional thing, cancer is perfect in and of itself. And a friend of mine who was a monk died of a terrible cancer and took a long time. And during that, she practiced cancer in all its perfection.
Practiced cancer. What do you mean by practiced cancer?
Well, there was pain, there was medication, there was her physical deterioration, and she was present to all of that happening without calling it bad. So it's perception, and the where that all leads is, as we were talking before, is that there is the original vow of. So the misconception is going, because in Hood River, when I first moved to Hood River, it had the same connotations. A monk was some strange thing, and
something to be wary of.
Right, and I was going to church, and that really put him off. Until people began to accept and understand that it's the practice of your faith, and the extension of that is that it's the vow to save all sentient beings. Now, enlightenment is a way to do that in older times, where a lot more people came to a monastery and you were able to settle their minds. But in my world, it's that there's a system that's gone horribly wrong, that is marketed as ending suffering, but actually has no care for suffering. It has care for
preservation.
Preservation. That's the word I was looking for. Preservation. It's buildings full of people who clearly they're making an effort, but their job is more important. If you told them that if they gave up their job, a new hospice would be built, they generally would keep their job.
Yeah. Well, because we got to take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk about that, because that is, what you were just saying there, and you've sort of laid out a nice picture of why you got involved in what you're involved in. So I want to talk about some of those things when we come back, and we'll be right back. Stick with us.
Coming up,
One day I found myself at the end of one of the long bike ride. Sun was setting, just amazing circumstances, and I had this horrible feeling of guilt. Like, why am I getting all of this when there are kids dying of cancer?